Record button. All right. And welcome from DIIT. My name is Laura Ogando, Program Manager for the Office of Digital Literacy and Inclusion. Super excited to be returning for another fabulous Friday PD series with you. I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to say a couple words.
Hello, parent coordinators and other friends. We're so happy to have you here. Very excited. Woo! We've been working really hard on this session all week with Christina, and we've actually, Laura and I have learned a lot about organization as well. So we're very excited to share all of this knowledge with all of you. And with that, I'll turn it over to today's guest of honor, Christina.
Thanks. Hi, everybody. They keep on amping up this presentation. I hope it doesn't disappoint. You'll see by the end. It's really interesting because I was looking for other presentations about organization and they didn't exist. So this is something that was created completely from scratch. So I am looking for feedback at the end so that we can know how to improve it. But y'all know me, Christina Bacias, DIIT, excited to be here and go through another awesome Friday, and passing it back to Laura.
Thank you. Thank you. And I always got to shout out my girl Latiqua. She's on the back end. She's always making it happen. You know, she's super quiet, but we can't do this work without her. So she dropped into the chat a whole bunch of links that you're going to need for today, including our learning calendar, webinar workbook, all the goodies. You'll get the presentation as well once we get it up for Christina. So again, thank you so much, Latiqua, always holding it down on the back end. And I want to welcome, I see in the chat, we got D2 in the house, and you know what? I'm a D2 former teacher, so I got to shout out my District 2 folks. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And welcome to all the districts, right? You made it. It's Friday. We're here. We're pumped. So welcome to everyone. Remember, if you don't see one of your colleagues here, pull them in. Let them know what's happening. Also, I see that they keep starting the Microsoft team meeting. We don't meet in Teams. We do this in Zoom on Friday. So let your colleagues know it's happening in Zoom. I know that there's always confusion. We try and pull those folks in, but just keep in mind, it's always in Zoom. We got to figure this out. It's a Teams issue. All right, but with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dari to introduce herself and the folks from FACE. So welcome to Dari.
Hi, welcome everyone. Happy Friday. I feel like I need to beat this. So welcome to the best hour online. I should say hour and 15 minutes online. This is your time where you can learn. Actually, I was just going to say we, as we're learning and growing, learning new tools, how to support and how to meet our parents online. With that, I am going to share a little bit about would love if we can do something a little bit different, if that's okay with you guys. I feel like we do so much and we learn from this amazing.
If you're done, walk away from the computer, take a break.
Oh.
You don't have to sit and.
All right, folks, just a quick reminder, keep yourselves muted.
So what I would love to do is that I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to change up the agenda. I would love to put let's go into breakout sessions. And I want this 5 minutes, actually less than 5 minutes, is learning from each other in a breakout session. So in your breakout room, I want you to keep this in mind. What are you doing? What is your best practice on how are you using the tools you're learning for Digital Fridays? And how are you communicating with families? So let's go really quickly in a breakout session, and this segment is called Learning from Each Other.
All right, so 1 second here. I'm going to get the breakout rooms up and running. Hold on.
Okay. And while Laura puts this, because I know I'm going to throw this, I'm going to change it up. I just want to make sure that I introduce my colleagues at FACE. We have Diana Miller in the house today.
Good morning, everyone. I am excited to be here. As I shared earlier, I love my Fridays. It's so empowering, so energetic. I usually, remind my districts that I support to try to get on, to bring a colleague on. It's so exciting. I'm always learning. from you guys. They also appreciate it. So it's great to be here, and I'm excited, looking for this fantastic hour and 15 minutes. Have a good one, everyone.
Awesome. All right, let's get to it. As Laura's preparing us, remember, we're going to do the segment called Let's Learn from Each Other. So the question you want to keep in mind is, how are you using Digital Fridays to promote family engagement online, family community, family engagement in a virtual setting? So let's hear some best practices. I can't wait to join a group and hear what you guys are doing. So yeah, just click on the join and we'll see you in about 2 minutes.
So folks, you should see a prompt on your screen to go ahead and join a room. Go ahead and do so.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Yeah, I'd just like to say that a lot of people are in the Teams meeting because we thought the meeting
Yep.
was in Teams, so they're coming. Just FYI.
Yeah, no, we know. Thank you so much, Tiffany.
Okay.
I appreciate it. We
No
always
problem.
get that confusion, but thank
Okay.
you. We pull them in. We take care of those folks too.
Okay.
And to those of you who just joined, you're going to see a prompt that's telling you to go to a room. I'm quickly assigning the folks who are coming in. So if you just joined us, we're going into breakouts and we're sharing just how we're using our Digital Friday PDs to connect with our family community.
If they come in, Laura, you have to assign them manually. It doesn't automatically do it, right? Yeah.
No, but I'm throwing people in. Don't worry. Everyone.
Okay, cool.
Everyone so far has been assigned. So if you haven't joined, go ahead and join.
I'm going to go into the Teams meeting again and just tell people not to be there. So I'm going to do that from my other computer. I'll be back.
Thank you, Lisa. Like I said, we take care of our folks. We make sure they come in here. And for folks who just joined us, we got 20 more seconds in these breakout rooms. So I'm gonna leave you be. But that's why the room's a little quiet. We went into breakout rooms. I'm gonna pull everyone back literally in 10 seconds. So sit tight. We're all gonna come back. Don't worry. All right. And I see folks trickling back in. Welcome back to the main room. You can always tell the conversation's popping when it literally takes like the full 60 seconds to get everybody back in. It's like, that means some gold is getting shared.
I know. And then they're like, oh man, I had something great to share that breakout room. That happens to me all the time.
Happens all the time. I was in a breakout room yesterday, and I swear, like someone got cut off just as they were saying like some really good stuff. But
Oh
you
my
know, say la vie.
So good. So guys, welcome back. Oh my gosh, we were just getting in it, and I'm loving in the chat. Shout out your colleague and just shout out exactly what you learned from your colleagues during Let's Learn Together. I just want to shout out one of my colleagues. I want to call it colleagues and partner, Brenda. Brenda is a PTA member, so she's a parent. She's online. And I love when I see our parents because our parents are a partner in this work. So welcome, Brenda, to our Friday sessions. If you are here, if you're a parent leader joining our Fridays, please let us know who you are in the chat. Anyone else? Does anyone else want to share one thing that they learned or with our learning together session? You can either unmute yourself or you can just add it in the chat. All right, I see them coming. Thank you so much. Oh, Yolanda. So we just need one volunteer to share one thing that they learned from their colleagues in the chat session.
In the actual chat, Leomar Grillian Mendez said that they were sharing when they got pulled back here. So maybe that person can share right now.
Oh, hey.
They were sharing there.
I don't want to take up their spot, but they had a really good share. So if they can come back and join us, that would be great. If we don't, then I could just say what they said. But one of the things they did was a paint night with their community, with their parents. They had them all join into a Google Meet or a Zoom meeting, and they all shared a painting that they did at their home with their entire community on a specific night in December.
And you said a painting night?
Yeah, a paint night. So everybody got a chance to do that at home and share across their entire community.
Oh, I love it.
I love it. Well, thank you, because I really believe like this segment, either we're going to have spotlight a best practice, but we're also going to do Let's Learn Together. So thank you so much for everyone who shared. I know that I got something back. Thank you, Linda, for sharing that a lot of your PCs learned some best practices from the district and they take it back in the school. So I want to turn it back over. Our session is ending. I want to turn it back over to Laura for other announcements. So thank you guys. And please make sure you check out the end of the week wrap-up email. It's all, if you guys see it, we kind of changed it up a little bit. It almost looks like a newsletter. So copy and paste the current events to your website, into your newsletter, and let's learn and grow and empower together.
Absolutely, guys. And that's what this is all about. We really want you to take what you learn here and, kind of pay it forward. So, share it with a colleague, share it with your families, right? It's not enough if you're just showing up and you kind of just consume the information. You then need to spread it out. All right. So I'm so happy to hear that a lot of folks are using what they're learning. They're turnkeying. And look, you're building community, right? That's what this work is all about. So I know we went over some of this last week, and I know Derry was making sure that this information shows up in the end of the week wrap up. But just some NYCSA updates just to keep in mind. Again, this will all get put into the team and also in your end of the week wrap up. So I won't spend too much time with this. And then we have Common Sense. Tali could not make it today. Again, she gets pulled in a lot of directions. I know that sometimes she's here and sometimes she's not, but I want to highlight just some of the amazing resources from Common Sense. And we go over them quite a bit, but again, for those who are new or who maybe haven't really checked it out as much, I just really want to underscore how amazing their organization is. They are a nonprofit. Everything they do is 100% free to our educators and our families. So want to highlight that Respect for All Week is coming up. And, the DOE has put together a lot of guidance around some activities That's all on the schools.nyc.gov website. But in conjunction with Respect for All Week and really thinking about digital citizenship, we have put together a PD for folks to tackle kind of both of those topics. And they really do go hand in hand. So we'd love for you to attend our Thursday session. I am there with Tolly, along with our partner from Staten Island, Jackie Patano. We lead this PD, and it's all about digital citizenship, resources for educators, resources for families. All of this work meets the principal's compliance checklist item 23. And remember, principals have to certify that they taught a digital citizenship curriculum to their students. It's part of SIPA and E-rate funding. And the compliance deadline is February 26th. So we're just under a month. If your principal is like, oh yeah, that deadline's approaching, what do I do? We have resources for you. So we'll pop this link into the chat, but you can register by visiting the UpLearning event page. And again, they're weekly meetings. So if you can't make one week, but you can make the next, no big deal. It's kind of the same way we treat this. We get it. You're busy, things happen, but we'd love to have you in there because we share really great resources all tied to digital citizenship. And then we can't highlight Common Sense without highlighting Wide Open School. So just keep in mind that Wide Open School is brought to us by Common Sense, but it is slightly different in that it's really just a hub of resources. And they've got so many different things. So we've been highlighting various activities and resources on there. And we just wanted to, in preparation for Black History Month, which is starting on Monday, wanted to highlight some of the great resources that Wide Open School has around Black History Month. Again, you can go to Wide Open Schools, and this is kind of like the DOE portal. So it's nycschools.wideopenschools.org. And then, you can always search. So if you're searching for Black History Month, help, I can type. You'll see the activities that come up. And then from here, you can filter it by grade band. So, if you are looking for, activities, particularly for the little ones, they've got stuff. I mean, so many great resources. So we just like to highlight that. And look, Haben Girma, which our office really loves. She is the deaf blind woman who conquered Harvard Law. If you don't know about Haben Girma, she's absolutely just amazing. In fact, a few weeks ago, we featured her on our accessible social media presentation. So look, she's popping up everywhere and she's amazing. So again, just wanted to highlight those resources available to us on Wide Open School. And then let's not forget, we still have those winter wellness resources. And right now, 16 feeling like -2. Yep, it's definitely still winter. So still applicable. Remember that 21-day challenge. We've gone over it a few times. It's never too late to start the challenge. So don't feel like, I missed it. It's the end of January. Hey, guess what? You got all of February. Take the challenge in February. Keep it rolling, right? I think especially now when it's super cold and the days are still relatively short, anything to bring a little cheer, to bring some movement, and to get us feeling good again, all needed right now. So don't forget about that 21-day challenge.
And I just want to add that if you are taking the 21-day challenge, please take a video and send it to our face, because we want to see who exactly is taking the challenge.
And don't forget, you can also, with that, not only send your video to Face, but you can also spread the word, right? We've been really big proponents about using social media. So if your school maintains an active Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, feel free to use that hashtag 21-day challenge. Make it camel case because we like accessibility. And then you can also set up some 20-minute check-ins daily to do the activities together. I mean, I love what got shared a moment ago with some virtual paint parties. So guess what? Do some virtual workouts, some virtual dance parties, right? Build in that wellness with your community. I think we definitely all need that right now. All right, so it's that time. We're gonna find out who is in our Zoom room. You know how we do. So give me 1 second here. I am launching our poll. So you should see that on your screen. Let us know who you are. And we always like to know who the others are. So if you're going to pick other, and so far I see four people have picked up, oh, 5. Let us know who you are, right? What's your title? What didn't we capture? And yes, for folks who are like, yeah, people are doing this in teams. I know, we pull them in. Don't worry. I promise you. We get those folks in here. So I'm gonna give you just another, let's say 20 more seconds. I see we got 85% of people voting. Let's see if we can do even one better. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Can we get to 90? Oh, we're so close. We're at 89%. All right, last few seconds. And all right, I'm gonna end it for us. We stayed at a solid 89, but that's okay. I see, as per usual, we got a ton of our PCs in here, so welcome. I see we also have some FLCs, some FSCs. We got a couple of teachers in here. I see you guys as well, a couple of administrators, and I know we have a few other folks. Ooh, we got a PA president. Again, we love when folks like that show up. We've got some CEC admin. Oh, love it. Again, we don't discriminate. We really we really love to kind of just bring everyone into this Zoom room. We got to share the love and share the knowledge, right?
Absolutely, Laura. And I love how we're spreading the love. I love that our platforms, it's all about partnerships. And we do see our parents. We are so thankful for joining. But just wanted to announce that if you are here and you are part of our amazing team, our CEC, President's Council, our PAPTA team, we just want to make sure that you guys know that normally this platform is for internal staff, but you're welcome to stay. And, because again, you must have heard that this is the best hour on a Friday. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Just want to make sure everyone knows that this is an internal professional development, but we welcome everyone. So welcome to our parents, our partners in this work. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. All right, folks. So one more poll for you, because you know how we do. We got to find out how you feeling, right? So one more second here. All right. Okay. Oh, dear Lord. You gotta love when like the tech gets a little funny. Okay.
That's part of the process though, Laura, right?
Always. Like all of a sudden I'm like going to launch the poll and it's like, yeah. But like Christina said, and I've said this multiple times, listen, the glitches happen. Sometimes, it don't work, right? And now I see what's missing.
Where's all of the above?
Where is all of the above? Hold on. I'm doing this now because this is ridiculous. I keep not putting it in. Guess what? It's about to go in there. It won't go live right now because the poll is like live, but
we know we're feeling all the emotions.
We're feeling all the emotions. Come on. How could you not? All right. I'm giving folks just another moment. Hold on here. Oh, dear Lord. Then I lost my poll. All the technical glitches today. Man. But I see, wow. For the first time in a while, it feels like Happy is leading. We typically are like tied. It's like neck and neck, tired and happy, but I'm seeing an overwhelming Happy. I love it. I'm going to give folks just a few more moments where we're almost at 81%. Come on, let's keep it going. Keep it going. And like I said, next week, I promise there's going to be all the feelings. gonna say it's just all the feelings. All right. 5 more seconds. Last few folks. Let's see. All right. And I'm going to end that poll. I'll share the results with you. So as you can see, an overwhelming folks feeling happy and excited because it's Friday, right? How can you not be excited for Friday, right? This is awesome. All right. So without further ado, all right, we are going to kick it over to Christina because listen, I know she's embarrassed because I keep hyping her up, but Christina's my girl, and she has put together, like I said, the dopest presentation on organization. So I can't wait for you guys to see this. Again, it's going to make a world of difference as you continue to connect with your families. You kind of, you know, when you're organized, everything just runs smoother. So Christina, please take it away, girl.
Christina, we're excited.
All right. All right, good. I'm glad. I hope it doesn't disappoint. Like I said, I'm looking for feedback after this presentation because I think it's definitely necessary and I definitely want to make it better. All right, so let's start it off. You see my entire desktop, and that is for a reason because I'm going to take you outside of just this specific screen in a moment. And just want to start with Google Drive and just to frame today's presentation. So we're going to be focusing on organization specifically around Google Drive. So tips, tricks, hacks, etc. And at the end, you will have some clear takeaways that you can take for yourself. So what is Google Drive? Google Drive is basically cloud storage. And I'm sure that you've heard about this before, but basically cloud storage is where you upload things into the internet and that you could access them from any device. It means that it's not saved locally on a flash drive. It's literally like a flash drive in the sky. That's why it's called the cloud. And Google Drive is that as well. So every time you create any type of file, oh, Google's talking because I said Google. So every time you create any kind of file, you inside Drive, that gets saved inside your Google Drive. But the problem is that we're probably creating so many files in our Drive, we don't know where they're stored. So this is what this presentation is going to be all about, the tips, tricks, hacks, and how you could organize them more effectively. But before we even get started, one of the best things that you could do for yourself is to make sure that you're signed into the right account. So before you start to organize anything, you want to make sure that you're signed into the right account. So I just want to address kind of like the elephant in the room too. Back in March when coronavirus happened, DIIT, the division that we work for, worked expeditiously to ensure that your @schools.nyc.gov email addresses actually have access to Drive. That was enabled in March. So everyone's schools.nyc.gov account actually does have Google Drive. That means you can create Google Forms, Google Docs, you could upload things into that Google Drive. So you may be using that account, or you may be using a local account that exists at your school. So that would be like an @ps123.org. Now, it doesn't matter which one you use. The only thing that we ask is that you stay consistent. So that's super important. Whichever one you use, you just want to make sure that you stay consistent. So if you're using your @schools.nyc.gov for Google Drive storage, that's great. If you're using your @local G Suite account, that's also great. Just stay consistent with whichever one it is. You don't want to be saving things in 2 different places. So that's definitely key. And if you have questions about, please put them in the chat. And I'll definitely be getting to those later, and we'll be talking about that more. And also Google Chrome. Google Chrome is a suggested browser to use for using Google in general, not just because it's Google, but because it has these really cool features. I don't know how many of you have this problem, but I have like 5 different lives and I have 5 different email accounts, and they're all different Google accounts. So I can get really easily confused when I'm going between these different lives. So Google has this great feature called Chrome Personalities. And instead of playing this video is here for you to use. I want to show you how to do it as well. What Chrome Personalities does is it actually separates all of your different email accounts, your Google accounts, so that you could easily toggle in between them. So let's say you have a personal Google account. So mine is cbasias@gmail.com, but then you also have the @schools account that you're using Google Drive for. You don't want to get confused between those 2 places. That's why it's really important that you could use these personality features. So what that means, you see this people tab here on the top. These are all my different lives. I'm not going to tell you what all of them are. But yes, I do have different lives and different pictures. That's also a life hack to keep yourself organized. So how this works is you want to go here on the upper right hand side of the screen where you see this little face, right? And over here, you're going to see other people. You want to hit add. You want to name whatever this account is. So let's say you're adding your personal account or your school account. You would put, or this is what I do, Christina's School. I would hit add, and then this new window is going to pop up. And then you want to say you're already a Chrome user, sign in. And then you would log in using your credentials that you use to log into that account. Once you finish this process, it's not going to work for me if I go through because I already added everything, but you'll notice that now there's a new account here. And this is how I separated all my different lives. Your account will be added, right? So for example, just so I show you how this works once you go through this process, this is my DOE account. This is what this presentation is going off of. If I was to go into my personal, now my personal pops up. If I was to go into this one, now this one pops up. Now these are all different accounts. And the way that I know, if I was to go to drive.google.com, you would see on the upper right-hand side, I have my different picture and I have my different account. So I know this is a little tech heavy. Don't worry if you don't get it completely. There is a video as well, but the key takeaway here is just to make sure you're signed into the right account before you start uploading things into a Google Drive. That is super, super, super duper important. All right, so I'm gonna move on. Hold on, I'm just gonna stop sharing the screen just to reshare real quick because you don't need to see my entire desktop anymore. All right. So again, not seeing this video now, this is for you to review later. This goes more in depth into how to do it and the benefits of using different personalities in Google Chrome. So one key thing about Google Drive is that even though it's online storage, you could actually make your documents available offline as well. And what that means is that you can edit your documents and not have to be connected to the internet. And that once you are connected to the internet, it'll save it automatically so that you don't have to think about everything. And that's one of the magical things about Google Drive and cloud storage is that when you're typing things on a Google Doc or on a Google Sheet or a Google Form or any of these things that we've been frequently using here in the Face Fridays, you don't have to hit the little save, the little floppy disk that's ancient and outdated, right? And here's the same thing. You can make your documents available offline. And once you do hit make available offline, and I will show you how to do this in a moment, it will actually toggle for all of your documents to be available offline. So that's just a little life hack as well. And again, I'll show you how to do this and go through it. So what kind of documents can you create in Google Drive? I know that we've spoken about this before. Anything from docs, sheets, slides, everything here is what you can create in Google Drive. And here is where it gets stored. And we're going to go through more on what are the different tricks and tips and how you can store them. This is, again, a Google Drive navigation map. I'm not going to go through this too in depth because I'm going to show you as well interactively in a moment. But before I show you anything interactively, what is organization? Let's calibrate on it. So good organization has a clearly defined purpose. And the key to that is, whatever that is, you want to make sure that you stay consistent, right? That is the key to organization. If there's one thing that I want you to take away from today's presentation is that you need to stay consistent. Consistency is key to organization. So what is the way that disorganization appears in our lives? I don't know how many of your workstations look like this, but I know for me, it's very ironic. I find myself more organized digitally than I am in the physical world. And I know my workstation has definitely looked like this, but ironically, I still know where everything is, right? And that has to say is because organization has to do with the brain and the way that we like to see things and the way that we like to do things. And what works for you may not work for somebody else. And you know, that's just the reality. And so we have to think about when we're working with people, how do we stay organized? But more on that in a moment. So before we move any further, I want you to answer in the chat, what are the ways that organization appears in our lives? What are ways that organization appears in our lives? So for example, just to frame some thinking, I'm gonna do a throwback. TV guides, right? How did you ever find to watch TV shows way back whenever? I might have just aged myself too, if you didn't have TV guides. So put in the chat real quick, just some ways that organization has appeared in your lives. Okay, calendars, table of contents, files, yep. Food shopping lists, amen. Amen. Shout out to my partner because she does the food shopping. Not me. Post-it notes, absolutely. To-do lists, file cabinets, yep. Calendar file, notes on your phone. Okay, you know, I struggle with keeping notes on my phone organized. I do have to work on that. Outlook calendars, absolutely. File cabinets come up a lot. Because the thing with filing cabinets though is that just because you have a filing cabinet doesn't mean you're organized. It's what you do with the filing cabinet, right? And that's the same thing for Google Drive. Just because you have Google Drive doesn't mean you're organized. It's what you do with the drive that helps you get organized. And you know, I love this comment here, Mr. Suarez. I just want to shout you out Post-it notes on the computer and reminders on the phone. So Post-it notes, I have a colleague who loves Post-it notes and puts them on their computer to remind them of things too and keep themselves organized. And there's nothing wrong with that. If that works for you, awesome. Continue to do that. All right. So let's see, what are some ways that I've identified here? I labeled this BC era, so before COVID era. We were going outside more often. So I know I said the TV guide, numbers, right? Numbers are a way to stay organized. Time also a way to stay organized. Calendar, search engines also are organized, right? How do they get those results? Well, it's because they're tagged with priorities and what you see. Libraries, how do you find the books, right? And grocery, when you're going shopping at the grocery store. So I know that that's been said. So all the places that we know and love, they're organized. And the thing as to why you associate them with being organized is because they follow that golden rule that I was showing you before, that consistency is key and that it has a clearly defined purpose. Good organization has a clearly defined purpose, and whatever that purpose is, stay consistent. And also another takeaway, organization could look different for everyone. So you need to figure out what works for you specifically. And like I said before, organization with the team, you need to make sure that everyone's on the same page, and we'll talk more about that. So the golden rule, once again, good organization has a clearly defined purpose. Whatever that purpose is, stay consistent. Whatever that purpose is, stay consistent, and you need to find what works for you. When you're working with the team, you want to make sure that you all establish norms that you can realistically agree and keep up with. So you all need to understand when you're working with a team or with colleagues that staying organized is everyone's shared responsibility. It shouldn't fall on one person, right? You should also have check-ins about the status of folders, monthly or quarterly. Don't let too much time pass, because then that's just a trigger for getting disorganized all over again. Ask help from your teammates when you need it, and be patient with each other, because remember, we all like to do things differently. We're just like a snowflake. We're similar, but we're different, right? So be patient with each other. Everyone approaches organization very differently. And with that, let's deep dive into folders. So tips for Google Drive and folders. I know this slide looks familiar. It's because my colleague Jose showed this to you before. Tips for Google Drive and files. Make sure that when you're creating folders and when you're creating files, you name the file something that you could remember. It should be simple and it should be easy, but whatever you do, keep that naming convention the same. Remember that everyone has their own way of organizing. Remember that folders should house the files, and you can color code your files as well. And actually, I want to go through that really quickly. So just to summarize some of what I just went over. Sorry, because the Zoom thing is in the way. Okay. So if you go to drive.google.com, that is how you can actually get to your Google Drive. And on the left-hand side of the screen, that is where you can toggle also between different places that exist when within your Google Drive. For the purposes of this presentation, we're staying in My Drive, right? And remember, I showed you this before. If you want to create something new inside your Drive, you go here, create new. If you just create a doc sheet, slide, or any of these things, right, even going into more, without putting it inside a folder, it just lives in your Drive and it doesn't keep organized. It's just kind of existing, right? It doesn't mean that you can't access it. It's just there, right? So what a best practice is actually to create a folder, right? And then to house the materials inside that folder. So let's say I'm a parent coordinator, right? And I'm sending something out to 9th grade families, and I'm surveying 9th grade families, their parents, right? I would create a folder, and then I would create the survey inside that folder that I name 9th grade families, right? I already created a folder, so I'm not going to recreate a folder, and I called it Parent Coordinator Demo because, hey, we deserve our own folder here. And you'll notice that there are some things that are going on with this folder. So remember, what I just did is I took you to a master folder. This is a folder, but notice that inside this folder, we do have other folders as well. These are called subfolders, right? So the master folder is what houses all the information. And then if you want to filter it down even more, you create a subfolder. So what I just did here is I have a master folder called Parent Coordinator Demo, right? And then I have a subfolder called 9th grade families, right? And this is where, if I was a parent coordinator and I was sending a survey to 9th grade families, I would go in and I would find that survey that I'm sending out to 9th grade families, right? And if I was to create any other document now, that automatically gets saved in here because I know that this is related to 9th grade families. Okay, please put questions in the chat because I'm going to keep the chat open over here and try to address it as we go along. I know that some of this could get a little bit confusing, but yeah, talking about you, Laura. Some of this could get a little bit confusing. So, you know, just keep with it. Just keep up with us. So I'm going to go back to the Parent Coordinator Demo. One of the things that I've done for us for Face PD Fridays is I created this folder, this subfolder inside our master folder called Google Forms Related. So remember when we did that awesome presentation about Google Forms? When I go in here now, I know how to easily access all of the stuff that we went over and the survey results that we went over, right? And it's parked here, compartmentalized for me really easily. I know it has to do with Face PD Friday, hence the master folder. I know we did a Google Forms related workshop, so I created that subfolder. And then everything that had to do with that topic, I put in here. All right, so let's go back to my master folder. Notice a few things with this folder. There are colors. The key thing to know about colors is that it's only for the individual. It is not for anybody else. When you change the color of a folder, you don't change it for everyone else, you just change it for yourself. Now, why Google did this is because they recognize that everyone's brain works differently. So everyone's brain works differently. So the way that you change the color of a folder is that you right click and you go to change color, and then you're going to see this menu of colors pop up. So then if I wanted to change this color to, let's make, what do I not have? Orange. That automatically changes to orange. And the same thing for all of them. You can change any folder. Just keep in mind that if you were to share this folder out, only you get to see the color changes. And that's really just for you so that you can easily see things if you're more of a visual person. Okay. Another tip here is emojis. You can add emojis. As you can see here in my Parent Coordinator Demo folder that I added emojis. And this is, again, just for me to see things visually. Or let's say you're sending things to students, right? So the way that you add emojis is actually not too crazy and not too magical. The way that you add emojis is you actually search for them. So if I want to add an emoji to one of these columns, let's say I want to change my everything Google Forms related, instead of that little teacher, I want an apple emoji. What I would do is I would go to Google, and I would actually Google apple emoji. And then I would hit this. I don't know why the apple emoji didn't come up. Let's see. I want the red apple emoji, right? And I would actually hover over it, copy, or hit this button here, copy. I will go back to my drive, right click, rename, and then just insert the emoji there. Say I want both. And that's how you insert emojis. It's super easy. It is just a trick. Now, this is something that everyone does get to see. It's not like coloring your folders. Everyone does get to see the emoji. So remember, whatever you do decide to do with your folders, make sure that you stay consistent. So if you're going to be doing emojis, that's cool. stay consistent. Whatever you're going to be naming your folders, that's cool. Stay consistent. You also want to make sure that your folders are something that's simple, the terminology, something that you know that you could easily look for later. So if you were to use this bar up here, which is the search bar, I don't know how many of you have used this, it would easily come up. So let's say if I want to search for a folder and I don't want to go into the folder the way that I just showed you by going into parent coordinator demo and then going into the subfolder. If I wanted to search for everything Google Forms related, I would type in everything Google Forms related and then see how it comes up right there, PC Friday. And then it even says when I edit it, 9:41. So the search bar is actually a great hack if you're finding it hard to stay organized. A lot of my colleagues also love to use this as well, and there's nothing wrong with that. Again, whatever works for you, that's great. Just stay consistent and have a clear, defined purpose with whatever that you're doing. Okay. All right. So one other little trick here, just in organization, now that we're in this parent coordinator demo folder, you could actually change the way that this looks. So remember, everyone's brain works different. Up here on the upper right-hand side, if I was to change this and instead go from grid view, all of a sudden, now my folders look like this. Now, this is the same exact folder I was just in. It just visually looks a little different. This actually changes it for my entire drive. So if I was going to go back to the drive, notice how my entire drive now you get to see my evil genius mode. I do admit there's a lot that I need to stay organized with. All of this stuff is stuff when I was a former teacher. So let's not pay attention to that. But look how it changes the entire view. Now, personally, I don't like to look at my drive this way. Personally, I like to see things in lists. I don't know if you all agree. I want to know though in a second, but this is how it changes. It's just a really easy button on the upper right-hand side, list view, grid view, list view, grid view. So Laura, could you actually launch that survey with which view do you prefer, grid view or list view? I want to know, which view do you prefer, grid view or list view? Laura?
Yep. I see.
Perfect.
we got
You got it.
we got folks picking. I'll tell you right now, I see list view is kicking butt, but I'm a grid view girl.
Are you really? I didn't know that.
I'm a grid view. I learned this the other day. I did a PD actually with Anthony on your team, and I'm grid view all the way. Like not only in my drive, but also like with my Microsoft Teams, because I actually show the list view, and I instantly was like, oh, this is weird.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Like, it wasn't working for me. I'll tell you that right now. I was like, this feels weird. And then of course it took me forever to like figure out, because when and this is just in Teams, not Google. I don't want to confuse people, but in Teams, when you change, then it also changes where to change it back. And I was like, and this is why I don't change it. But it goes back to your point of this being a preference, right? Like there is no right or wrong with this. You have to figure out what's your preference, and not only what's your preference, but what works for you. Because some folks, I think, like they're trying to make something work that they don't actually like, it doesn't work for them. So you can't force it either.
I know, that's so critical. That's so key. It's so interesting, the results of this survey. You see, we also, as humans, think that our way of doing things sometimes is the best way of doing it, and it's the only one right way to do it. So I just want to stress here, again, when you're working with others, that's why keeping organized together could be challenging at times. And that's why it's important for all of us to come together and to make sure that you have the same norms and that you check in with each other. Now, the personal preferences stuff doesn't apply to everyone. Like if you change the grid view or list view, that's only for you. When you change the colors, that's only for you. The important things that you need to calibrate on with the team are, what are you going to be naming your folders or your files, right? Are you going to be having like the date at the end of them, for example, to know when you made them? We'll talk about, are you ever going to be deleting files and things like that? All of that stuff is super important. All right, so I'm going to end the poll, and let's share the results. So 29% of you are grid view, 38%, or no, 38 of you are list view, 29 are grid view. So 43% grid view, list view won with 57%. Now that's cool, but that's like pretty much almost half and half. And that just goes to show you that, again, this stuff is all a personal preference. You need to figure out what works for you. And I encourage you to play around with these things. You may not know off the bat what works for you, or maybe just watching this presentation, you're just like, wow, I know that I'm going to use that because I get it, right? But play around with it. The best way of understanding how to do something is actually just diving in and trying it out. And remember that there's no such thing as failure when it comes to technology. Just trying it out. That's the best thing that you could do for yourself. All right. So a few more things here with organization. And we did talk about the search bar. So make sure that whatever you type, the title of your folder or the title of your documents, that it is searchable. That is super, super duper important. And then there's shared with me. So again, we're not watching the videos of this presentation because I'm showing you how to do it here. So shared with me is on the left-hand side of the screen. So when you're in shared with me, and I know I'm still in my grid view that I personally don't prefer, so I'm gonna go back. When you're in shared with me, this means these are all files that have ever been shared with you. In other words, that means that someone right-clicks the folder or the file, hits share, and then types your email address into it. This is where it's going to show up. It's going to show up in shared with me. It's not going to show up in your drive necessarily because it's not made by you, right? In order for shared with me files to end up in your drive, you have to add them to your drive. So I don't know if I have an example here, but you could, what you're going to see is add a shortcut to drive, for example. So this is something that doesn't exist in my drive. So what you would do is you would right click, add shortcut to drive, and then you would file it appropriately wherever this folder or file, if this is a file, deserves to be located. Okay, so once again, shared with me does not necessarily save inside your drive. These are all files that are shared with you. This is where they would live. Now, this is, yeah, I guess there's a lot going on here in my shared with me, and I don't need everything in my drive, and you need to make that decision. What needs to go into your drive and what doesn't? There's a lot here that doesn't need to go into my drive, and so I didn't. But if it does, right click, add shortcut to your drive, and that's how it could easily be added to your drive. And remember, you want to make sure that it's filed appropriately, right? So if this deserves to be in that parent coordinator folder demo that I made before under 9th grade families, because it's about mindfulness and it's about mindfulness for 9th grade families, then you just segment it and put it there. It's literally a digital filing cabinet. This is all we're going over right now. And just one last trick here, with my drive, when you click my drive, you get to see everything, but you see this little arrow. For those of us that like list view, the 57% of us, if you were to click that arrow, ideally, it took a while to load because I have so many damn folders, but all of your folders do open up. And all of these little arrows inside the folders means that there's more folders inside. So these are the master folders that I was talking about. Master folders are the folders that are saved inside your drive. And then the subfolders, going back to the parent coordinator demo, once you click that, it's going to take a second because I think I have so many folders. Ideally, what happens is that you see all of the subfolders in that master folder as well.
Christina, so we have a question.
I don't know.
How can we delete out a shared with me?
How can you delete and share with me? That's a good question. I never really delete documents because I'm not a fan of it. And the reason why is because I never know if I'm going to go back to something. And this actually talks about the next thing on this presentation, I believe, which is this. So Derry, thank you for shouting that out. And please continue to ask those questions in the chat and to unmute and ask those questions to Derry and team that come up, because I'm not seeing the chat necessarily all the time. So I encourage you not to delete and share it with me. And the reason why is, again, because you never know when anything, you may need it again. Unless there's something that was shared with you that you know that you don't need, what you would do is that you would right click and get rid of it. You can say delete or get rid of. I'll show you that in a second. But why I encourage you not to do it is because deleting means is that it goes away. You can never access it again. And one of the best things about using your school's Google Drive is that you have basically unlimited. And why I say basically unlimited is because you have like 2 terabytes of drive storage. Now, that is literally, did you know that the human brain is about 2 terabytes of information? That is literally the size of the human brain that you can save inside your Google Drive. So you have a basically infinite amount of information. So you don't really need to delete it because you never know if you would need it again. So for file cleanup, for your personal, for decluttering, make sure that these files, your personal files or files that you can only access, decluttering does not mean deleting. It could be moving folders into a larger folder that you could access later. So like, let's say you have folders from this year in 2020, 2021, it's the end of the year, you're getting ready for 2021, 2022. You can have a master folder called 2020, 2021, and then move all of your files that you made in 2020, 2021 into that folder, and it won't bother you, right? But then if you need to go back into something from 2020, 2021, you'll be able to access it and you didn't delete it. So that's super important. Also find the cadence for when you are decluttering your drive. I like to declutter my drive personally at the end of every year. I can get, for me, it's a lot because I'm doing so much. And then I just kind of have like my own spring cleaning detox at the end of the school year. So find a cadence for when you're decluttering your drive. But when you're working with a team, meaning that there's a folder that's shared with you and multiple people, make sure that this cleanup happens together. It shouldn't be done by one person. If it's done by one person, then everyone doesn't know where the information is shared. Make sure that files are moved into a larger folder that everyone can access later, and then create a new structure together going back into those team norms. So that's super, super, super important. All right, so let's go back and to address this question with shared drive. How do we remove something? I've never really done it before. Oh, shared with me. We're not going to talk about shared drives today. Let's see. Let's go to a file that I don't really need. Right click, remove, right there. But again, express caution here. This doesn't delete the file for the other person. This just removes it from your drive, your shared drive. But keep in mind before you remove this file that you don't need it, right? But that is how you would remove it. Just right click, remove from your shared with me. Okay. So going back to the organization presentation. So again, not going to watch this video. This is for you to review later on. I did create a cheat sheet for everyone that goes through all of these situations and these scenarios. It's a cheat sheet / checklist. You could easily access this cheat sheet / checklist by going to diit.nyc/org checklist, and you can take it with you. It goes through all of the important information as far as keeping yourself organized, from Chrome personalities to color coding to naming conventions, to adding emojis, and then the tips for team norms as well. But one caution here that you should all know with your NYC DOE drive, now this goes for whatever drive that you are using. If it's your local G Suite drive, you're at ps123.org, or if it's your at schools drive, anything that you create or put into the drive is technically the property of the New York City Department of Education. You cannot massively transfer out files from the NYC DOE drive into your personal drive. So this does mean, let's say that you are leaving the DOE, for example, that you won't be able to take all of the files that you created and download them and put it into your personal drive. So that's just err with caution. This has some caveats to it, but just wanted to make sure that you were aware that when you are creating folders or files inside your drive for school related purposes, technically it's the property of the DOE. And when you're using the @schools account and your Google Drive, you cannot massively transfer out all your folders and download them into another drive. Okay. So the time is now 11:01, and we do have a few minutes for breakout rooms. And I did go over a lot of information. I apologize. I know it was a lot of talking, but there's a lot of talking through how to keep yourself organized. And there's a lot of tips, there's a lot of tricks, and some of you have taken away some things that others might have not. So what we want to do is we want to go into breakout rooms. I want everyone to take a picture of this slide so that you remember the prompt when you go into your breakout rooms. And the prompt is, it's going to be about a 3-minute breakout room. Now that we learned about organization and organization tips, what is one thing that you're going to commit to doing and why? And what will this help you achieve? So again, now that we've learned organization tips, what is one thing you're going to commit to doing and why? And what will this help you achieve? So I'm going to call on Laura to give an example answer. So Laura, what's one thing that you learned? I know that you said before that you were learning a lot from this presentation. What's the one thing that you would commit to?
Well, I have to say, that whole piece on really getting on board with your entire team, that it's huge. So, I create a lot of content for our office, digital literacy and inclusion. And, we had a conversation a few months ago, but I think it's important to revisit to make sure that as we're creating new content, that we're following those kind of like group norms, that we're using proper naming conventions. Because again, a lot of folks, and I'm sure it's here too, you don't create things alone, right? You're working with a team of folks. So if you've got that shared drive and you've got like shared folders, you want to make sure that you're kind of all on the same page with how you're organizing that. And that some of that stuff that you share, the organization might look a little different than what you do personally. So that for me has been huge.
Yeah, no, and that's a great tip. You're right. Organization for a team could look different for how you personally like to organize your files. And these are the kinds of conversations that we want you to have in the breakout rooms. All right, so right now, Laura's going to help me get everyone into breakout rooms of about 4 or 5 to 6 people. So remember, take a picture of the slide so that you remember the prompt. We'll also shout it out so that you have it as well. But again, you're talking about now that you've gone through this organization presentation, you got all these tips. What's one thing that you're going to commit to? Why? And what will this help you achieve? That is the main question for discussion in these breakout rooms. All right, and we'll see you back in about 3 minutes.
That the prompt to join, and then I'm just putting it in the chat just so that folks have. I put that prompt that Christina shared on her screen. So if you didn't get a chance to take a picture. And for the folks who are still here in this main room, if you can, try and move yourself over into the breakout room you've been assigned. And I see some folks in the chat, it's okay if your internet's not working, you can always stay here, it's okay. But if you have the ability to move into that room so that you can have this nice conversation with your fellow colleagues.
Yeah, and then if you cannot move into the breakout room, you could also just put in the chat how you would commit and what's something that you learned. That's also okay. I know that some folks already started to do that. They got so excited. They were like, I'm going to commit to this. I already know I want to commit to something, which I love. Of course, Alexis is on the call in the background. You hear that, Laura?
I wasn't going to say anything, but yes, I totally heard Alexis.
It's so funny. I'm just like, I need to make sure that I coordinate these meetings with.
I feel a kinship with Alexis. I'm loud. Like, I know I'm loud. Thank God I work alone at home. My husband works outside the home because I don't know how people are doing it.
that has been a struggle, you know. Yeah, usually we correspond where we're not on meetings at the same time, but it didn't work out today.
I mean, I'm assuming it's got to happen eventually, right? Like, there's only so much coordination before it's like, listen, I got a meeting, you got a meeting. All right, so we're meeting.
We've all got meetings. We've all got meetings.
I hear that. Listen, this is what it means to also work from home. in tiny New York City apartments, right? Like I've been
Amen.
really calling it out for folks because it's different. Like you see like on the news, like they'll show like work from home setups and you're like, yeah, that's great if you live in the suburbs. You got a basement, you got like that second bedroom that you like converted into a home office. We don't have that luxury here in the city.
I know, it's so true. It's so true. That's been the struggle since March, and I can't believe it's basically almost a year that we've been quarantining in this. But that's a different situation, different conversation.
Right?
All right. It's crazy. All right. So I guess let's close the rooms and we can do that 1 minute countdown for them.
Yes. All right. So I'll press the button. They're going to get a little notice. I almost feel like going, hey, girl, Alexis, what's up?
I know she's doing an affirmation application with somebody.
Ah, that's the best.
Yeah.
Christina's partner, Alexis, is like the coolest, guys.
She'll make a cameo one day. I said, do you want to make a cameo today? She's like, I have a meeting. I'm like, all right, next time. That's why you hear her in the background. Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm excited to hear some takeaways. I know some folks are still in their rooms. That's how you know, Laura, like you said, it's that engaging conversation.
Right?
I always
People
feel
don't
bad
want to
bringing them
leave.
back when they're in the middle. I know. It's a good problem to have, though.
Totally. All right, I think we're all coming back in. All righty.
All right, so I definitely want to hear some takeaways. So what's something that you all committed to? Not everyone has to share out, obviously. You can put it in the chat or you could unmute. You can just unmute your mic and share out. What's something that you committed to or that you heard someone else say that they're committing to and why? What is that going to help them achieve? So again, you could just unmute and talk, or you can just throw it in the chat. I'm going to give some thinking time. So color coding, creating files. So Tony, hopefully creating files inside folders to make sure that you're organized too, right? Color coding, yep. Color coding is a little hack that not a lot of us are using. Yep, absolutely. Chrome personalities. Chrome personalities saved me, I have to tell you. Creating folders for the files, yep. Emojis. Emojis is a newer trick that I actually learned. And that's just, again, it's very much like for me, just visual, especially when there's folders that's getting shared out with people. And I don't know how many of you are using Google Classroom, because I know most of us are parent coordinators, but even in Google Classroom, you can put emojis into the names of projects or into the titles of subjects. So it's pretty cool. Creating files, but how do I move into the folders? All right, Ava, I'll go over that. Making the doc available offline, absolutely. My key takeaway is, hold on, there's so much action that I lost it. My key takeaway is that I need to keep everything in OneDrive. I have another Gmail associated with our school website, and I tend to upload files in there too. Yes, be consistent and use OneDrive. It will be so much easier instead of having to toggle between 2 different personalities. And remember, with that Chrome personality too, that will also get easier as you're in transition of using OneDrive over the other. Creating the shortcut from your shared drive. Okay. Perfect. All right. So in a moment, there's a lot of engaging discussion happening and I absolutely love it. In a moment, I'm going to give you a form to actually park your immediate reflections now that they're fresh. And this form is actually going to send your answers to your email address as well, so that everything that you're speaking about, that you're saying you're going to commit to, you will actually get an email to remind you, oh yeah, this is what I said I was going to commit to. And that's part of keeping organized as well, because you're going to hold yourself accountable and you're going to get this, you're going to get your own reflections emailed to you as well. But before we do, Ava, I did say I was going to show you how to move files into Drive as well. So it's really easy. And And there's so many different ways to do everything with technology. And that's the same thing for Google. There's multiple ways to do something. So you may have another way of doing this as well, but it's really simple. If you wanted to move a file into a folder or a folder into a folder as well, you would just take that folder and literally just drag it. And then if I was to just undo this or lift my finger, automatically this folder is now going to be saved inside this folder over here. So let's try it with something not so important, so I don't disorganize myself for the purposes of an organization demo. That would be contradictory. So let's say I want to move example subfolder 2 into example subfolder 1. I would literally just take this folder, hover over, undo it, and automatically, if I go into example subfolder 1, this folder is now in example subfolder 2. So hopefully that made sense. And it's the same thing for files. If you were to take one of these files, for example, and even if I was to move it up here, it would do the same thing. So dragging and dropping is the best way that I like to do it. If you have a Google Doc, inside the Google Doc, there are ways to do it as well. When you move it, literally there's file, move, and then you would select where to move it to, the different path. I think there's a way to do it here as well, move to, and then literally a mini drive pops up and then you can move it here into this specific section. So again, this does the same thing as dragging, but again, that's my favorite way to do it. This is just a different way to do it. Right click, move to, another little trick. And then just one last thing that I didn't go over, start. Start is a really easy way just to kind of access files that you know you want to easily access or that you access frequently. So these are all folders here that I've starred that I know I want to access. And the way that you star a file, so let's say I want to star this parent coordinator demo, and you can see things that I've starred as well. So like, you know, these are research related projects that I work on. All right, so parent coordinator demo, if I wanted to star this because I wanted to easily access, I would say add to starred. And then when I go into my starred, it shows up right here as well, so that I don't have to search for it inside my drive, because I'm one of those people that I've been working here for so long. I have so much stuff. It can get a little exhausting. Your drive may look a little cleaner than this. Don't use my drive as the model example. But these are little tricks and tips, and use what works for you. I can't stress this enough. Use what works for you. But when you're working with other people, make sure that you're all calibrated on how you're going to be staying organized. Okay, so as I said, and this is the last slide and the last thing for today before we do and say goodbye and say and fill out your forms. So the attendance form for CTLE credit, et cetera. Please write down your action steps in the reflective Google form. Again, the answers will be emailed to you. If you take your phone and scan this QR code, it will come up. Alternatively, if we're going to put in the chat in a second, there is a short URL that will also take you to the form. So just going to leave this slide up. And if we can just put that short URL that will take you to this form as well, it's just the end of reflection form. Again, if you take your phone, scan this QR code and just fill out the reflection, park your immediate answers of how you're feeling. What are the next steps that you're going to take? How are you going to commit to this? So again, just really quickly, y'all can just fill out the organization reflection and then do the remote attendance for today. That would be very much appreciated. So again, this is just reflections on how are you going to commit to this? And then there's also a remote attendance for you to take afterwards. So please just briefly take the organization reflection and then the remote attendance, and that's it. So with that, while you're filling that out, I'm going to pass it back to Derry for closing thoughts. And again, these two links, we're going to keep on circling back into the chat.
I don't know if you can hear this jam right now, but this just popped in my head. It's a throwback, Flashback Friday. The weekend is here. It's Friday, and it's our time is Friday. I just want to thank everybody for joining our session. Christina, you you did it again. I mean, Laura was right. Like, this was so on point. I mean, I needed this. I'm so disorganized, especially online. Like, you gave me an insight how to kind of color code. I love the emojis. I didn't even know there was emojis. So thank you so much, everyone in the chat. Just shout out Christina and let her know how did you feel about this workshop. So I'm just gonna say this workshop was fantastic. So one word in the chat. Let us know how you feeling about the workshop today. Also, we're always looking for feedback, even with our Friday sessions. Like, what do you want to see? I know that we're going to take another poll of exactly. Actually, I'm so sorry because we do have a scheduled workshop already, a topic for next Friday. Uh, just a friendly reminder, the New York City Department of Education, us as colleagues and supporting other colleagues in other division, the New York City School Account, NYXA, is a hot topic right now. We're trying to get as many parents on the account. So whatever you guys are doing, keep doing it. I know that you're doing so much outreach to ensure that our parents are on. So thank you for that. So next week, we're going to have actually our colleagues that manages the New York City School Account and FAMIS. So spread the word because next week, if you need additional tips or you just have questions, like I've been, I have some challenges with the New York City School Account, getting my parents on. You do not want to miss our next Friday topic, all things New York City School Account and also FAMIS. So please, please, please spread the word. Um, don't miss it. It's next Friday. And we're also going to have our campaign team from FACE sharing some campaigns. So if you're familiar with the CEC elections, in the chat just says, I am aware. We're kicking it off. So stay tuned for those huge announcements and that official kickoff because we are now in the CEC campaign season. So make sure that parents know because we want to make sure that everyone is able to run or, say, you know what, I can do this because every parent is so important as our partners in this work because the more parents are involved, we can get a representation of how can we make our systems better for our children. So with that, I just want to thank you guys all and just hand it over to Laura just for any final thoughts on today and what we're looking forward to in the next sessions and the next couple of weeks.
Sure thing. So again, shouting out my girl, Christina. She did a phenomenal job. I learned some stuff. I'm always learning. That's the good news. I mean, like, even though I lead a lot of training, I myself also go to a lot of training and I appreciate learning each and every day. So thank you, girl. That was amazing. And hopefully, like I said, this work, it really will help you as you are delivering workshops to families and you're creating content in your school. It all starts with organization, so if you don't have it, you get to a point where, yeah, you feel a little overwhelmed. I can't tell you, it feels so good when like you clean everything up and you go into your Google Drive and you're just like, look at all those folders. Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
No, it's not just you, it's me too. I get a lot of pleasure out of it also.
So excited. And it's both, like, when you clean a space, like when you actually clean your desk off, like, when like you look and you're like, wow, it just looks and feels so clean. Like, I think that's what's going to happen for a lot of you today. You're going to feel that sense of like, phew, everything in life feels like it's fitting into place because I cleaned up all my folders. But, as Jerry said, next week, next week, wait, say it again, Jerry. I'm sorry. I feel like we keep cutting each other off.
Right? Oh my gosh! But this is what we do. We buy from each other. I was like, new year, new organization system.
And that was precisely why we kind of did this at this time. We kind of felt like, folks at the beginning of the year, yeah, you want to like clean a little house, hopefully do a little spring cleaning as well. as we head into spring, although it ain't feeling too springish. But anywho, next week, as Derry said, we've got a special guest. But I believe the week after that, what we're actually going to do is we're going to do part 2 of our best practices for remote facilitation. So for those of you who were here last week, I went over some kind of tips and practices. And there was a lot of content, but guess what? There is more. We have more for you on really kind of just ways in which to set yourself up for success. So that's coming on deck in about 2 weeks, because like I said, our next session, we're getting one of our colleagues from, I believe, FACE to kind of lead some more training. But this presentation, oh, I'm so sorry. We put it in the chat, but the chat, it goes fast and furious. So the name of this class is Tips for Organizing Your Google Drive. I'm going to go ahead and pop that back in here. I want to remind folks that in terms of attendance, you take that attendance sheet, digin.nyc/remote attendance. Make sure you select the right class. You will then get a follow-up email, and in that follow-up email is going to be a link to a Survey Gizmo survey. We really, really mean it, folks. Give us honest feedback. This was Christina's first time doing this class, and we're always looking to level up. I talked a little bit about that last week, and so even though this was a phenomenal presentation, guess what? We're always looking to make it even better. So if there's something that we could have added, maybe just anything that you felt like, wait, if you could have covered that a little bit more in depth, let us know. We always are looking to level up. That's a good practice to kind of also keep for yourself whenever you're conducting a PD for your staff, for your families. Ask them to give you honest feedback, right? Because, we know we're great, but we're always going to do better. That's what it's all about. So with that, like I said, just fill out the attendance. You'll get a follow-up email, and then give us that feedback. And for those of you who do need CTLE, remember, within that Survey Gizmo survey, you just indicate that you need CTLE, and you'll be prompted to enter in just a couple more pieces of information, and then you'll have it. All right, it'll get emailed to you automatically. But again, I see it in the chat, Christina, you were awesome, girl. So many folks, I think, are benefiting from this. I already see, like, people are about to make a little mini project today. Clean out your Google Drive.
And I love,
it's not even spring.
Right, and I love, thank you so much, Linda, because she's saying that she's going to take this beyond here, and they're going to practice as a district. So shout out District 22, just to take this workshop beyond Digital Fridays. We love to hear that, because again, our weekly sessions are meant for you guys to turnkey it, make it your own, use some of these models. We always jam before we start, put some music. I know that has been, just from hearing the feedback from you guys, like you guys love the interaction, the fun, because you want to make this, and Laura showed us last week about facilitation. It's all about fun, being yourself, right? What I would like to do, because I forgot to ask earlier, do we have anyone that's new to Friday? If you're new to Fridays, please put your name on the chat. I just want to say welcome to Friday. So this is your first time. Let us see your name pop up, and then we're all together as a team. We're just gonna say welcome to Fridays, and we're gonna try to do that. Try to remember to do that each Friday, because I love to see our new participants, because I know you're gonna come back, because I'm telling you, this is the best hour and 15 minutes that you can get. So thank you so much.
And I wanna echo Lisa, who just wrote in there, if you're new, tell your friends. Absolutely, bring them in. Listen, we like to pack the Zoom room, all right? So please, please, please pass this on. We don't discriminate. Get your colleagues in here. We partner with FACE, and so obviously this is geared toward parent coordinators, but we also know that you work with a lot of folks in your building. And so if it makes sense, bring in your colleague, bring in the guidance counselor, bring in the social worker, bring in your admin. We do not discriminate. Bring in that school secretary. I know we had some PTA presidents as well. Bring in those key players that you need to bring in, who need this work too. All right. The name of the game is we want you to feel supported and successful. So if that means bringing in a colleague, bring them on in. We'd love to have them here.
Absolutely. And we do have a question. Where can I find the past training videos I've missed? We do.
Ooh, we
Right.
have that. 1 second.
We have that.
We'll get that. Yeah, of course we have that. We always post, and like I said, I'm just going to find the spreadsheet, but we always post all the recordings and information about our sessions. So 1 second here.
And just want to make sure that everyone knows we are done with our sessions today. If you have to hop off, feel free to hop off. We kind of just at the end of the sessions, we kind of just stay a little bit longer just to chat and to stay if you have any questions that we may miss. So we're gonna stay here for another 3 more minutes. So please, before you log off, just make sure you sign the attendance form. I posted the link again. Thank you, Latiqua, because our girl is posting it. So I'm posting it as well. We're just gonna stay online for a little bit. I'm gonna play a little bit of music. And thank you everyone. Have a safe, wonderful, restful weekend. And we see you next Friday, which is our Friday. So make sure again, invite your colleagues, FLCs, FSCs, invite your parent coordinators in your districts. We are so excited. Thank you, Christina, for this wonderful topic. I feel empowered. I'm ready to organize my files right now, right after this.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. And thank you for the feedback, because we definitely want to make sure we improve it.
Absolutely. And I just want to remind folks, because I know you were asking, I'll post it again, because again, this chat goes so fast. But if you want to access any of the recordings for our past sessions, we created a YouTube channel. So when you click on that link, it's a link to our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to see a lot of our sessions. There are actually some that are not our PDs. You'll see some of the common sense training. You'll see some of our newer sessions. We have a partnership with the library services folks. So you're actually going to have access to a lot of different trainings. So even better, right? Why not? But that link is in the chat. So feel free, save that, bookmark it. And we're always adding to. So this recording will also get added there as well, folks.
Absolutely. So bye.